Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11, and of course we're playing as Japan. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more great historical videos, including Hearts of Iron, and of course I would appreciate it if you like the videos. Every YouTuber says these things. I'm sure you're very tired of hearing it, but hey, if everybody subscribes and if everybody was liking the videos, we could stop. How's that for a deal? Nah, I know it ain't gonna work. We'll still do it. Okay, they're taking from there, so let's throw in these guys. Push a little more, push a little harder. Argentina. Rare materials. No. We've got enough coming in already. Hey, yeah, you guys go quick up into the mountains there. Maybe you can beat the occupation forces. Yeah, if not, maybe I'll disrupt them before they have a chance to dig in. Everybody there is doing something. Don't know that they're all good moves, but we're worried just about focusing on something like their capital and then watching them send in reinforcements. We're striking out and around them. Causes them a bit more. Yeah, we want to go this way, get to their capital to bring these guys down too. Oh good, we're going to flank them out here in the mountains. That'll allow us to attack from more than one direction. So far I'm refraining from attacking across the river, because I don't want that modifier in on any of the troops. And it looks like things are going well there. And these guys are getting to occupy, though they're exhausted. Okay, so these guys are here. They get to move forward. These guys can support the attack there. And let's head in that direction. Cut off, roll up various elements here. Yep, they made it here. Yeah, let's pound into them before they can get well organized. There we go. Colombia, money for crude oil. Okay, we can do that. Small ship crew berthing. I know I've talked about that before, so I'll refrain from doing so now. Yeah, I know it's still just 38, but we should be doing some more of the naval development too. Because of course, I mean, even sort of at our worst starting capabilities, we outclassed, not just outsized by having a larger navy, but outclassed the Chinese in leadership and technology and whatnot. So that was sort of a fairly easy done thing. We'll send in the Marines into... Oh, you're still defending. Okay. No, you're probably not. So let's deal with that in a minute. Marines into this stack, and light infantry into here, because I think we want, yeah, in the mountains here and here, but this looks like the tougher nut. Oh, well, maybe we're going to get chunking faster than I thought, or maybe just my hitting other flanks kept them from reinforcing. And another pocket's created here. Very good. Okay, you guys strike into there. You guys move to there. Don't give them a minute to... Oh, you're still defending and you got time on your clock. Okay. I'm thinking if we get this, let's look at victory points here. I think that'll be the last victory point in nationalist Chinese territory in the sort of, well, I guess there's this in the blue zone. But we can look at diplomacy and they're at 88. Percent towards that, so I don't know if they'll hold out for this or not. This is 2 points, well, so is this, so okay. Okay, you guys fight your way in the mountain with the light armor, that'll help a bit. Okay, well, looks like you've moved fairly deep into the territory here, so you guys go there. You guys can come here. Let's counterattack into there. And just for fun, let's come down this way. See if we can threaten their capital. We haven't been fighting in their territory at all, but I think they've been sending troops up to the front, though we may find a defended line there, and then we'll stop if we do and maybe retreat. I don't mind retreating from, shall we say, exploitation attacks that we're just trying to see what good we can sort of kind of get done. You guys are going to come here. Push into there. You can support that. Attack there. Yeah, okay. Stormtrooper tactics. Again, these are the World War I type, and that is done. Not the Nazi type street battle BS. Because that really was, you know, we all hear, you know, stormtrooper tactics, you know, used by some police or something like that. And yeah, it may, and depending on the case, may accurately represent sort of what the stormtroopers would do in the street. But the stormtroopers of World War I were sort of national heroic soldiers that were trying out a very aggressive and effective new tactic, and it was very much of a political language and motivation to use the term for them for the Nazis. you know, it's, I guess, maybe as big, maybe not as big. Oh, okay, you guys, well, you joined that attack. As sort of, now Buddhists have a real sort of difficulty using, or, you know, their version of the swastika, or swastika the way they would use it, without all of us, particularly in the West, rightly thinking of the Nazis. You know, it's not that they shouldn't use it, they should. Saw some documentaries on that that were made in Britain. I think it was mostly with Hindu usage of it, but either way, and again, they should be able to use it, but it's tainted. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no, I want you to go there. This is the one I'm looking for. Okay, yeah, let's punch into there with these guys. So yeah, they're not to blame for our reaction to their symbols. It's just fact of history. Though I would strongly suggest nobody ever put it on a white field. Well, white field maybe, but never in a red, or never like a, I guess, on a white circle in a red field and try to, oh, it's just religious. So I know one of my friends on the Paradox forums have periodically posted and put, and don't even really think you got an official timeout for it, but the Finnish use of the swastika, which I think predates the Nazi use. I don't know if it predates the because if you know, I know, well, it is appropriate because there are swastikas in Japan, though it is very rare, and it's sort of the few cases of period swastika use or historic swastika use are often highlighted by the Nazis. You know, the rare cases where we find the swastika in Japanese use in Buddhism. Japan traditionally, and this is something that I'm still not 100% sure on, and there are multiple, shall we call them, flavors of Buddhism. So, how do I put this? Buddhism is a type of religion, but I don't think it is a, again, I think, because I don't know, and who knows, we may have a Buddhist here, but watching someday, I'd love to hear from them on some of this. Because I know, like in Tibet, it seems to be, and seems to be to this day, but definitely in the relative recent past, meaning, well, in the Dalai Lama's lifetime as a child, you know, and I still believe quite a few people in the Buddhism that's found in Tibet, in Bhutan, and Nepal, they still believe and worship or whatever in gods or demons or other sorts of spirits, and sometimes that can be overlaid, and people early on get maybe mistranslated and idea. You know, let's just take a, you know, original Star Trek series where the Enterprise sometimes meets the god Apollo. You know, so if you, no one really believes this, but if you're in this sort of Star Wars, or not Star Wars, Star Trek, did I say Star Wars at first? Star Trek mythos, the original Star Trek mythos, boy. And sort of in that world, the original god, and the other, because they talk about it, the other Olympian gods, they're in very real things. and that the way they sort of use them as if it's a type of space alien, shall we say. So, but not the god or a god or force or being or whatever we want to call it that is the overall creator. They're sort of, shall we say, imposters, because definitely if you look at various creation mythos of ancient Greece and of Egypt, they're responsible for the creation of the world as we know it at some various levels. And not just, oh, we're super powerful beings that have, power over life and death through our, technology. So they're definite. If they were, I'm not one of these ancient alien peoples, everything is ancient. I'm not saying one sort of meme. I'm not saying it was ancient aliens, but it was ancient aliens. No, I'm not one of those people. But the theory that some of that stuff could be. Okay, I'm not there with you, but in that sort of theory. So I don't know whether some of these gods are gods as in we would think of them as in the Greek and Egyptian sense, or if these are just sort of benevolent and what's the other term? Malevolent type of spirits or entities or supernatural beings or space aliens. I'll just throw that in there. That the Tibetans still continued after long generations of being Buddhists. Okay, so Buddhism and other pre-existing religions, and remember, Buddhism, the Buddha, and I forget his original sort of name, comes out of Hinduism. At least starts in Hinduism. And you find a lot of, and I think it is mostly in this part of India. I could be corrected if Azads happens to watch this. He can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of evidence for during the Buddha's, lifetime or the sort of few generations after, a lot of evidence for Buddhism in this part of India. And there's still remnants of it there, but mostly it moves and travels on through and then through China, which I know sort of a little less about. I know much more about in Japan. And so Japan, pre-Christian, was a mixture of Buddhism and Shintoism. Shintoism is more of local spirit worship. And you might confuse the term of a god for a spirit of the mountain, the well, that field, the sea, kind of thing. And again, I'm no expert on Japanese religion. I just sort of have a vague or a general vaguish understanding of it. And so they're not necessarily Shintoism, which does have other isms to it. You don't have to, because there's sort of Shinto Buddhism, and so this is sort of what I'm saying is where Christianity wipes away pre-existing religions, though adopts a lot of times their religious sites, their religious dates, Christmas being December 25th near the winter solstice kind of thing, as opposed to if you look at the descriptions of trying to bring in the wheat or whatever from the fields, the harvest from the fields, that's what I was looking for, around Jesus's birth or something, puts it, by the evidence within the text, puts it definitely nowhere near December that he's born, and that, of course, is neither here nor there. But that's the date it's celebrated on now. And, of course, the Greek Eastern Orthodox celebrates it, to my understanding, more or less on the same day, but on a different calendar, so it's on a different day. Because they've stayed with the old, the Julian calendar as opposed to the Gregorian calendar. Please. Again, I label this commentary as opposed to when I make a mod or read somebody else's made mod the text, take that as fairly good history, because when I do it, I really research the history. This is commentary. Don't, because I was talking to Django earlier today, Don't take this and use this as historical evidence in somebody's argument. Take what I'm saying and then go, oh, what is it? And go at least look it up on Wikipedia or in some book before you do it. This is pointing in the right direction. So Buddhism spreads out and overlays the various religions in this part of the world. And so we see fairly heavy, well, we see Hindu use of the swastika. And that, I think, mostly through Buddhist spreadings of it, continues into China, but very, very little. And you can definitely find pictures that are period and before of like tsuba. Those are the sort of the guard on a samurai sword, or some other fairly old artifacts that go back not maybe to ancient world, but to, shall we say, medieval Japan period, having the swastika in it, and that's coming from the Buddhist influence. But it's rare. It's not a common use of it there, but it is a common use definitely in some of these Tibetan regions and down into China to some degree. And so, sure, if you look at that and you, for your religious or cultural reasons, want to use a swastika, fine. It would be best that it's not black. It would be, well, if it's not black and it's on a white field of some sort, fine, but best not to be in a white circle on a red field or something similar to that, where I'm not quite sure how it gets into Finland, because we see the swastika mostly, I would say about, let me be generous, 80% of the cases of the use in swastikas in Europe are brought there by Madame Labatska? No, Madame... Oh, boy, Madame Blavet... Oh, God, messing her name up. I know who she is. She's the start of the Theosophical movement, and it's sort of a pan-religious movement. And so she brings in... Madame Labatska, messing that up. She brings in this sort of secret knowledge into Europe, and one of the symbols she's bringing in is the swastika. Not that it's not known beforehand, because of course the French, the British, the Portuguese all have colonies in India. They all see swastikas, but she is the initiator of bringing in the sort of, I think, mid-19th century, bringing the swastika into Europe. And about 80% of all uses of the swastika, I'm sort of excluding the massive uses by the Nazis, but all of the sort of pre and other than Nazi uses of it, and they still have it in there, because there is still a Theosophical Society still has, I looked this up some time ago and doing some research, still has, I don't know if you call them churches or meeting centers or whatever, still have major ones around the world. It's still fairly well funded. It's still a bunch in India, and they still, as part of their whole set of symbols, still have the swastika in it. And she is the main one that brings it into Europe. I presume, I don't know, but I presume it's out of that tradition that you get the Finnish use of it. It is Guido von List and his crew, meaning other similar types of people, that take a lot of the information from the Theosophical movement and use it and change it radically for their ultra-nationalistic, neo-paganistic movement in Germany that is around before World War I, but we definitely see in World War I its sort of use as a good luck symbol, and a lot of these particularly second half of World War I and into the immediate sort of post-war Freikorps era, a lot of it is used as sort of right-wing German nationalistic use with no connection to Hitler and the Nazis, and they're just they may be anti-Semitic, but they're not have the whole National Socialist program. So, if you're European, you better have a very, very well documented history of use of that symbol, in your organization. Unless you're trying to be Nazis. Now, if you're just trying to be Nazis, well, then you're Nazis. But if you're not trying to be Nazis and you have a historical context for it, it would be best if you made sure it didn't look very much like a Nazi swastika. Just a word of advice. Because I am not against people maintaining, and I could say this is a fairly recent phenomenon, but people maintaining their various historical and cultural group identities, including what I think is Madame Blavatsky, I think I'm getting that more or less right. She claims to have traveled, to Tibet or Nepal or somewhere else, and was shown some secret documents or something, which of course no one has ever seen since. So I personally take that whole thing as being a hoax of some sort. Whether she literally dreamt it, and so she thought she lived it, so so she could pass a polygraph, because I do think there are religious figures that dream things, and this could go back to ancient Jewish figures. That doesn't mean they're not religiously inspired, but and they truly believe they had some sort of incident, whether it is just a dream or whether it is a religious inspiration of some sort. I don't know and can't make a good judgment, but I take her sort of founding stuff, I think, as being a lot of BS. So what follows from it, and I've only looked at it, sort of Wikipedia article style, a little bit more than that, but not a whole lot more than that, as being sort of good, mushy, ecumenical, can't all religions sort of get along idea, which isn't a bad idea, but it's just the founding mythos to me is highly suspect. That is also, and I've had a good number of very good and close friends that are Mormons throughout my life. Won't say that I have any particularly right now, but for many years, I'm very good. And some were very sort of rejectionists of Mormonism. Some were very much embracing Mormonism. I have a huge problem with their, shall we say, foundation myth of Mormonism and the Golden Tablets. That doesn't mean that... So it sort of corrupts the whole religion for me. It just doesn't... Because it doesn't fit my worldview, in that somehow Jesus Christ, after being crucified, has come to North America, presents some further gold tablets to the Native Americans, and then, because I don't know the details of the story, things don't go well, they get buried, and then they get found again, and then they go to heaven. It just doesn't function the way I understand the way of the world and functions. Now, of course, I'll grant you, I believe in God. I don't want to go into my personal, and this is not to argue my personal belief. I believe in a God, and so, okay, theoretically, the God can do whatever he wants to do. I'll grant you that. But it just doesn't seem to be my thing. And so, notice, I'm not criticizing their belief in it. I'm criticizing the story of the foundation of it. Just doesn't, to me, hold water. Where Buddhism, you have, I guess this is a bit of a religious thing, Buddhism, you have a guy who, through, meditation and inspiration, comes up with a philosophy of a behavior of life. Okay, I'll grant you that is not correct. I'm not granting that it's correct or right or people should believe it, but I'll grant that as being a likely set of conditions to happen that somebody has it, has these kind of things. And so that's why I give it more water, hold more weight. Okay, you keep attacking here. So what we're going to do is attack you here. And since these guys can now attack, they're going to come into here. Okay, heavy artillery brigades. No, I don't want to make this channel about religion. I got enough other things for it to be about than that. But saying all that, I am evaluating cultures and groups, and religion is a faction of all of that. So it is a I'm trying to, and I very much, like I did sort of personalize what I sort of personally buy and don't buy into a little bit, but I'm trying to look at this as, shall we say, a cultural anthropological way of looking at religions, as opposed to saying, yeah, I believe this guy and disbelieve this other guy because of this. And I do know that we do have some strong religious believers, and that's fine, and you can believe what you want to. Like I say, might criticize foundation myths. Like I'll criticize the idea of the entire world covered in water and that Noah story. I know they built some big ark somewhere in America that's sort of a tourist attraction, and that's fine. They want to do that. That's fine. But but then again, I do sort of believe the Noah story. What? Gamer just says he doesn't believe the whole world. Yeah, no, I think it's related to the sort of the flood that fills in either the Black Sea or the flood that sort of fills in the Persian Gulf that they're sort of finding out about now, or maybe both of those sort of stories and stuff that gets combined. So their whole world, because maybe you can sort of see the sort of a shelf out here where it gets sort of deeper here. It used to just be sort of a little inland, well, fairly big ocean here, or maybe just fresh water, I think. Because if you don't know anything about the Black Sea, I don't know, the top, let's just go with 60 feet of it is like normal ocean water. You get below it, it's sort of something of a Dead Sea down there. And so you can find a lot of shipwrecks that don't look like they happened yesterday, but they haven't had the usual sort of wood rotting away. So you can actually find the wood there because the different life forms that would normally eat the wood don't down there. So it just sort of like as if you left it in a bunch of water, but without any, again, microscopical level or some other sort of level of things that would eat the wood or decay it. So it's just sort of decaying, but it's not doing that fast. So we sort of know that there's this dual layer of water and whatnot in the Black Sea. And so you can sort of see that, and they've also found human habitation, at least sort of maybe Stone Age or whatever, that's along or what might have been an earlier coastline down there. And so their whole world got rocked with a flood, and somebody who maybe got inspired, maybe saw the thing leaking, who knows, builds an ark for him and his family and his animals, and that survives. Okay, I'll buy into that, but I don't buy into the idea of the whole world everywhere on the planet that gets covered. So again, I'm trying to look at both of these views in a realistic real world, not in what some book says that God says that whatnot says. That's how I'm evaluating all of this stuff, not the validity of the message of Mormonism. Again, that I generally speaking, not finding anything overly objectionable with that. Again, I'm not overly familiar with it either, so don't take it as either an endorsement or a rejection of it. It's just I haven't, I find things horribly objectionable in other religions we won't go into, human sacrifices in the Aztec religion I find horribly objectionable. Okay, so just because I don't share the beliefs doesn't mean that they're bad beliefs to have. I'm just not going with their foundation myths or legends or stories or however you want to categorize it. And so I'm sort of looking at religion and analyzing it in a cultural, anthropological type sense. So please take all of that in that viewpoint when I'm talking about Buddhism, Hinduism, Islamism, Christianity, and other various flavors and types and styles. So, and I'm sure that I'm going to get it wrong because I know enough from Christianity. What is right for one sect within Christianity, it's wrong in another. So, yeah. Okay, heavy artillery brigades have advanced. Very good. Which allows construction of heavy artillery brigades. I don't know that I'm going to do any of that. We might. Island defense and that kind of thing. Okay. Okay, we're on the cusp of this, so let's get this starting to go. We're almost to the start of that. And uprising here. Okay, well, good thing we have troops here. They can fight that uprising. And did in one. Should have been smarter and uprise somewhere else where we didn't have troops sitting on top of it. Okay, peoples. Now, what I want to do is, well, try to make sure that when we have another uprising, if we have another uprising, though I do think it's more of a win, we have more critical places protected from the problem, you know, like, I guess we'll maybe add in that as a final movement there, just to get them back to, I don't think we're going to have much in Korea, so that isn't a problem, but as opposed to just protecting some random province, I'd rather protect one with ICs and also keep revolt risk down like we are some of these places a bit more. I don't know if there's just troops here recently or why that is particularly better, but let's come over here. Okay, I'm going to save this. Doing that for Nationalist China because what I want to see about doing is once we get China to be defeated itself, because my understanding, and it's been a long time and it's sort of mostly from watching while playing Germany, is that you create Nationalist China, that we can, our version of it, and it helps with various occupation areas, and we currently have 353 ICs effective. And then at some point you can turn all this over to Nationalist China, and then you can sort of retake the coastal regions. And I think that is for a twofold element. One, Japanese allied Nationalist China will end up sticking a lot of their forces on other fronts that may not be useful and not have very many fronts or forces to be able to protect the ports. So Japan can do better to protect the ports. And I'm also looking for a lot of these ICs here to be mine. Some of these aren't very big, I know, some of these spots, but well, I think this is fairly big. Yeah, you know, that's level 10 there, as well as some of the resources. So I want to try to have some of that to remain mine. We're going to test it out at some point here, but if this goes away after I take down the Republic of China, I wanted to be able to come back to a save game because we are moving into. Okay, well, you guys can stop attacking because we don't need to keep attacking these retreating troops. Yeah, because they're almost there. And you can stop Yeah, you can stop attacking as well. Oh, good. And see, we're there now. And that's a nice 9-level place, though that would, of course, go over to being Chinese. So we'll have to see. To a point. Well, I do like to recreate history. That is most assuredly for me, because I like this. But I'm going to have to evaluate also how much is it going to, because I know I can do a better job than the AI in keeping things suppressed. But the question is do I want to build a bunch more military police units? Maybe mix them with some horse units, cavalry, and fight the suppression wars, which the AI does terribly, in my opinion. Or do I want to turn it over to an allied nationalist China? My understanding, again, and it can be wrong, of the way things work would be that the allied nationalist China forces or country would get to use all of the ICs it has, but turn over any excess resources to me. And I have to evaluate if I were to keep these things, either try to do something like we have here, in which we've nationalized this territory, but we have a minimum revolt risk of basically 2. Now, other things like send in the goon squads, various nationalism, black ice modifiers, and stern imperialists, adjust that can be up from that. But it can't go below 1.91 at the best of times. So do I want to do that once I take China? Or do I want to, as well as the other things? Or do I want to set up a puppet state? The puppet state will definitely use its the manpower better and probably have a lot less revolt risk. But I do find them to be very unlike. See, I'm playing Hearts of Iron 3 people, because it's a damn good game. And because it's still in some ways better than Hearts of Iron 4. But in some way, Hearts of Iron 4 is worlds better in some ways. In that I can go Hearts of Iron 4 to my puppets, send me some troops, guys, and they'll send me some units. Now, they may be sucky local, nationalist Chinese whatnots, but they're at least sending me forces. You go in and help that attack. That should, well, up to 28. Good. Dramatically help. So that, but they're sending me forces that either I can command and keep into their area, or I don't know, send them off to India or some other place, and that I have control over that. I would be so much more like, oh yeah, of course we're forming, reorganized nationalist China. There'd be hardly any doubt in my mind about that. Just because, hey, it's in some ways a better solution, because they sort of protect their own territory from, revolts and that kind of thing, and they have better factory usage for building equipment, which is also another thing that Hearts of Iron 4 is worlds better at. So we can see some of that stuff, and the way it's done there is just, I think, remarkably good. Okay, attritional warfare. Okay, we're going to keep learning how to attrit the other people's forces better than they're attritting ours. or reduce that down. Okay, you guys join this fire. I'm sort of keeping the tanks out of it for the moment because they're partially just because they're sort of messed up a bit. America, we give them a little bit of money for some oil. Okay. Okay, even with that, that's still failing badly, so we're gonna stop that attack. Yeah, there's a counterattack, but we stopped it before we were collapsing. Okay, mobile unit training has advanced. We have so few mobile units, that's why we're not putting too much effort in there. We're going to continue to put some, but I think artillery, because this will be a long-lasting benefit to us. And we've won here finally. No, here. Okay, no, just here. Their counterattack, yeah. Okay, I think we're going to stop this episode. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the video. Really appreciate that. Like I said at the beginning, hopefully you'll have subscribed by now. And of course, please post your comments on any of the topics talked about or something related to them. I love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.